Welcome to Golf Industry Guru and the Gig Podcast, where we interview the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. On today's episode, you will learn some proven real-world solutions that'll help you and your team solve some of your biggest golf business challenges. So stick around for some tips, tools, and training to get you, your people, and your business powered on. Here's your host, James Kronk.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, Gig Nation and all of our listeners, to another Golf Industry Guru podcast. It is James Kronk here, and it is my pleasure to bring on our next guest, who I met a couple months ago when I was in Spain, speaking at a wonderful event, wonderful conference with European Golf Course Owners Association. And I met Christofer Nassil there, who gave a presentation that I wish many directors of golf, instructors, head professionals had witnessed and heard, because it was fascinating. It was outside the box, to say the least. And one of the things that I love, and always is a great indicator to me about a speaker and their topic, is the number of people that come up to them afterwards. That's always a sign that tells me that what they were talking about resonated. It's like when you give a presentation and you say, are there any questions? And no one puts up their hand. Well, you better start working on your stuff, because that's never a good sign. And when Chris did his presentation, I can assure you there were lots of hands that went up and lots of questions that were asked. So, Christofer, welcome to the Gig Podcast. Tell me, first of all, I know the time zone is crazy. Whereabouts are you right now?
Well, thank you for having me, James. Right now we're in the sort of near Siberia. We're in the north of Sweden. So I'm just a couple of miles from the Swedish Alps, which is sort of a big hill in context.
And so, Christofer, tell me in that area that you're at north of Sweden, because I know how Swedes love their golf. And by the way, in Canada, we love their hockey players, because where I'm from in Vancouver, British Columbia, we feel like we're relatives with regards to the Swedish people and their hockey players. But how many golf courses, Christofer, are in your world in that area where you happen to live?
We have about 3 or 4.
Got it.
And if you want to get another one, you have to drive about 2 hours each way.
Got it. And I know you travel around a lot and you get out and about, especially with where you are now with your business and with what you're doing. But before we get into that, Christofer, share with our listeners a little bit about your journey, your story, and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Sure. So I grew up playing golf here in the Nordics, which our golf season is super short. It's about 3-4 months if we're lucky. So I played golf for a couple of years when I was a kid. I got down to about a 12 handicap. And then I stopped when I was about 15, 16. And, other things in life come in between. So I spent my business life coaching salespeople. That's been my sort of niche. So I've been coaching hundreds of salespeople, running big sales organizations. And my key skill has been, how do we say things better to get a higher retention of clients? How do we get them to become a happier client so they come back more and pay more? That has been my sort of niche in business. So when I was running one of the most profitable department stores in Northern Europe at the time being, and I started playing golf again. So I had about a 11, 12 handicap, and I saw Tiger had said that golf is in between the ears to 80%, and that sort of fascinated me to a big extent. And then I saw a post from the Open that if you had a scratch handicap, it was a 1.4 at that point, and now it's a 0. But if you had a 1.4 handicap and 100 euros in your pocket, you could enter Open qualifying. And me as a 30-year-old male, that was the coolest thing I've heard ever. Right. So with my job comes a bit of hubris. That's sort of to get the skin in the game. So I thought, well, I have until I'm 50. So I went to my golf instructor I have never taken a golf lesson in my life. And I asked him, I'm an 11 handicap now. I want to reach a 1. I want to buy that from you. I have 1 day a week. I have 3 years to do it, because that was when the 150th Open was. I have not unlimited money, but almost. So sell it to me. And he couldn't. So I went to the best instructors in the world and asked the same questions. That I want to reach this score. Help me achieve it. And no one had a system or a product for me to buy. It was very much swing and technique and equipment. And that only takes you so far. So I took it as a business project and thought, well, this was fun. I'll try to do it by myself and see how far it could take me. So in 3 years' time, I played golf once a week. I went from an 11 handicap to a 1, and I won my club championship back home. And with the same swing I had, with the same technique I had, everything was the same. It's still horrible looking, but it does the job. So then sort of the light bulb struck, or the question mark, rather, that I was, how come no one sells this? Me as a salesperson and coaching salespeople all my life, that's sort of been the question I was answering. How come we sell something that's better than the competition? So I was curious. So I started looking into the PGA programs and the golf side of things. This was a whole new world to me. And I went to the PGA like level 1 education program just to see, I must be missing something here, because we have the most buy-friendly customer in the world, the golfer. Primarily men with disposable income, and this is the most important thing in their life except their kids. And so it's not the customer. That's not the problem. It's not a money problem. It must be something else. And if me as a schmuck from the hills of Sweden can do it, then it can't be that hard, I thought. So then it became very clear that golf is 3 things. It's swinging technique, it's equipment, and it's playing golf, which is shooting low scores. And the PGA programs and the PGA organizations and all the golf organizations in the world are very good at the first 2. The third thing has sort of been unintentionally left to the side, which is how to play golf with what you have. So I just moved at that time. I was trading the stock market, so I had a bit of free time, and I thought, well, maybe I can do some good here, because if I were a golf instructor, I would only sell the score and then make tons of money for me and my club, and everybody would win. Because people have a way lower handicap, so much happier. And I just thought, well, I'll give it a go and see how far that can take me just for fun. So, and that has ended me up here. So what I've done is I've built a new business model for golf coaches, which has enabled them to sell score to the clients and build a profitable business with higher member value as a side effect of it. So that's why we're here.
And thank you, because it was a really fascinating story, Christofer, when you presented that at the conference in Spain. And I know a lot of people, first of all, were amazed and shocked that you were able to go from being an 11 to a 1 in the course. I mean, obviously you must have some physical attributes and some skill. What do you think? So was it you just became more consistent with, you were reading lots of books, you were getting more consistent? How did you get better? How do you think you lowered your handicap?
By being obsessive. I'm a very obsessive person of things I'm interested in. So I have the thing that I've come to realize now, looking backwards, that maybe was in my favor, is I have an easy time disconnecting myself from me as a person to the result I want to do. So I became my own coach. So I thought, if I paid myself all the money I had to teach myself to do this, and my life was dependent on it, how would I treat this then? And I looked at it through that lens. So I read all the books that are out there, listened to all the seminars that are out there, talked to enormous amounts of golf coaches, and and then also interviewed the golfers that actually have low scores. The people that have the swings that don't look much. They don't hit it past 220 yards, but they shoot level par all the time. What are you doing that I am not doing? Because you're kicking my ass. I hit it way past you, but I come in shooting over 80 and you shoot 72 like it's a normal Tuesday. So I played with those people. I sought those people out and so, what are you actually doing? Because you're doing something different. It's not very spectacular. So I played with a bunch of scratch golfers and looked at it like a case study. Like, what are you doing and what does other people do? And what do the golf world teach? And then just looked at the physics of it. Because there's a lot of feelings involved in golf. This is the way it's supposed to be. Like chipping with a 60-degree wedge is the best thing you can do if you want to play double bogey golf. It's the worst club in the bag. You shouldn't be allowed to have it. It doesn't make any sense in the chipping aspect of it if you want to get lower scores and you're not really there yet. It's a professional club. It's not for us over 2 handicap amateurs. It really isn't, because I don't have to use it, and it's more likely for me to mess up than it is to win. So I did a case study, read Bob Rotello's books and all the stats of it, and just dissected it and took it one step at a time. So I did it like Tiger did it. I went from the hole, which is the goal, and then just moved on back.
And, for those listeners that are, maybe their minds are getting a little bit blown with regards to Christofer's journey a little bit, because you blew some minds when you were presenting in Spain, because you have some strong opinions, which I really like. But the reality is that you've actually created some great success with your new platform. It's not like this is just an opinion, a theory. You've actually created some success. So maybe tell me a little bit about the Open Academy. Tell me about, where you are now. Tell the listeners about where you are now, and then we'll go backwards a little bit into how you've got there. But let's go with that.
Sure. So I run a company called Golf Coach Academy, which is a business support community for all golf clubs in the world. Where I have it's an e-learning platform that I've recorded all the trainings that I do, all the books that I've written, everything to a sort of a school to go to, which you can learn the information without me having to charge you $5,000 for it. So it's $50 a month, and then it connects you to our support, where I can support the club in its entirety, which makes it possible. So that's what I do. And the way I've done it until now is I've been coaching and been the sort of the business coach to, which was previous the PGA National in Sweden, that is now just the National for reasons we don't have to talk about, but they're the National now. So they're essentially a privately owned club, but they don't really run through memberships, which in Sweden costs very little. So it's in the US, the normal membership is pretty high in context to where we have it. So their average full membership, free access, everything is about $1,500, give or take.
And you mean for a golf professional?
No, for a golfer. So a golfer comes up to the club, which is the pristine club in Sweden. So they pay $1,500 per year, and they get free access to all the golf. So I'm the business coach who have been to their golf academy and their golf coaches. And she, the head professional, which I have been coaching, has been newly examined from the PGA programs and is a very ambitious 27-year-old woman, very, very good at what she does. But through my method and my system of teaching, she has now made her business very profitable. And the club is now looking to how they can expand to having almost maybe 15 coaches, where they previously only could have 1 or 2.
And is that because of the demand, you mean, that the success that's happening with the golfers?
Both yes and no. So yes, in context that the clients that she has actually shoot slower scores now. She has a way for them to actually do it within a reasonable time, and that doesn't cost a lot of money for them, because she has now a system for them to follow that actually makes them do it. The second part of it is that you don't need a lot of clients if you have a few clients paying a lot. So she has a fewer client base, and they take more help from her. So she actually gets the chance to help them with everything, instead of just the one lesson here and the one lesson there, doing it to a more quantitative number of people. So it's very quality based.
And so can you talk more about the system that she's using to have success?
Sure. So the normal way to do things is that the client the golfer in this aspect walks into the golf shop and they ask for a lesson, right? And the golf pro asks them what they want to have serviced, or what problem they want to solve. I want to fix my slice. Perfect. Let's book a lesson on the range. How many minutes do you want to buy? And then they book the minutes on the range, they do the thing, and then they're sort of done there. The way we do it is a bit different. We don't allow the clients to buy the first thing they want to. We ask a bunch of questions first. So let's say you, James, came to me and asked for a golf lesson. The first thing I will ask you was why? Well, I want to fix my slice. Well, that's no problem. But when we fixed your slice, what do you want to use that for? Well, I want essentially to shoot lower scores. All right, good. Do you have a system for doing that? No. Okay, then I have two offers to you. One, we can go to the range and have our lesson and fix your slice. That's no problem. The other thing we can do is we can have a screening. We go to the TrackMan simulator. We play 3 holes in the simulator in the same amount of time, and then I can properly assess your golf game, give you a system for how you can achieve a lower score, and give you 2 ways to do it. You can either do it by yourself, or you can pay me to help you. So do you want to do A or do you want to do B? Well, of course they want to do B. Let's go and see how good a golfer I could become. And then during that 50 minutes, she has a possibility now to ask you a bunch of questions. Why are you here? What do you want? What do you like about the club? What do you like about your game? What's your goal? How do you play golf? And then she finds the lowest hanging fruit that they could fix in the shortest amount of time to get you shooting better scores tomorrow. And then when they do that, she gets the proof of concept. Oh, so what you taught me actually worked in the round I just played. Yeah. And I just taught you a fraction of what I know. Do you want to have another meeting and see if we can help you further? And now you got them, right?
We'll get back to our conversation in a moment. But first, are you ready to learn from the world's greatest golf and hospitality industry leaders? Train your team and grow your business with a membership to Golf Industry Guru. Join for less than $3 per day and give your entire team access to over 150 hours of courses, podcasts, webinars, templates, articles, live Q&A calls, and more. Free content samples and registration details at golfindustryguru.com.
So is there anything different would you say, I'm a golf professional, Christofer, for 27 years.
Yeah.
You would never want to take a lesson from me.
No. Okay.
I still owe a few refunds to people that I've taught back when I was a youngster, because I just wasn't very good at it, and I didn't study it, and it wasn't why I was, to be honest, a golf professional. Okay. I certainly still, did what I needed to do, and I love working with juniors, and I loved helping beginners and all that kind of stuff. But, I was not helping an 8 handicap get to be a 2 handicap. But one thing that I certainly learned and have learned, obviously, is that, there's many different ways to help someone improve their golf swing from a teacher standpoint. And teachers have their own version. So would you say that your program is about the process of engaging a client as opposed to the strategy for, the style for how we're going to improve their game, whether it's, whoever is the instructor, that the version that you like to take, right?
Yep. So the easiest example I have is I look at it like a personal trainer. Every personal trainer has a different style. And again, golf is 3 things. Swinging technique is one of the most difficult things to teach. And the PJ is amazing at teaching it. They're extremely good at what they do. One could argue that they're a bit too good because it gets very technical very, very fast. And people like me, normal people, we don't really get it that fast. Maybe I'm just slow, but it's very difficult to learn. So my model is based on the second 2 things: how to shoot lower scores and what equipment can I use to do that faster. So the model is based to be able to have the golf version of in my program. Every golf professional is the niche. You are the product, and you have the way you like to teach people swing and technique. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I don't touch that 1 second. The thing that you're missing, however, is the business model to put that in, because they don't really get the possibility to teach them the things that will actually make them better swing wise, because it's very difficult. So I look at it like this, that they are the same sort of business person as the personal trainer is. because the personal trainer has a house to work in quotation marks, and the golf professional has a house to work in. But what the customer wants to buy is a lower score. And in the personal training world, it's a lower weight or more muscle, right? They want the result. But what they need to teach is the bench press exercise, because otherwise you will get hurt. And if you can't do the exercises properly, you won't reach your goal. That's the same thing as a PGA professional. Without swing and technique, there's a ceiling to how good you can become. And it's immensely important. Our game is terribly difficult, but very, very, very fun because it's so difficult. But the way that what people want to buy is the lower score. So by you as a golf professional listening to this, or the director of golf, whatever, if you could start selling score, people will be willing to purchase it. And you can, because when you talk to people that want their lower score, it's usually a pretty big number. Like, the normal handicap in the world is about 15, 18, right? Give or take. And you ask me, what would be your dream handicap or your dream score goal? Well, it's usually about half, which is a pretty massive.
They want to break 80. They want to break 90.
They want to break 80. They want to break 90. They want to have a single-digit handicap, right? And the way to teach them that, they need to be able to have their swing and technique in the proper way. But in order to sell that to them, it's a bigger package of lessons, right? You can't do it in less than 10 because you need the continuity with the golfer, because they barely listen to you in those 30, 50 minutes. They retain nothing of it. They don't listen to you because they tried to do it on the course today, which you told them not to do, and none of us listen, which means that they fail in the product you sold, which means that turns back to you because you aren't who you said you were, right? And not by the golf professional's fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just that people perceive that they're buying a lower score from you, but you're selling the bench press exercise. Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah, it does. It does.
So what the personal trainer does really well, they do a lot of things terrible in the fitness world, but this they do really well. They do a proper needs analysis of their client. Hey, John, why are you here? Sit down. Hey, do you want to have a coffee? Talk to me. Tell me why you're here. And they ask you really uncomfortable questions that sort of what they want to know is, why are you really here? Well, I want to lose 20 pounds because I feel terrible. Or I want to reach a 9 handicap because I've tried all my life and I just can't for my life do it. Good. Do you want my help to do it? Yes. Perfect. This won't take 1 or 2 lessons. You realize that, right, John? Oh, yeah, because you're trying to cut it in half. And you've done this your whole life and not succeeding. So would you be trying something new? Well, yeah. Would you like, it will cost them, we do this, this, and this, and it will cost you $1,000 to do it. Then we can have a start. Would you be willing to trade your driver for becoming better? Well, yeah. Well, you can buy the driver too, John, if you want. That's perfectly fine. But let's see if we can do a massive dent in your handicap. So this year, or maybe next year, you can get to a 9 and actually do it. You want to do that? Yes. Good. Here's now. Give me a credit card and let's start.
What are the principles around the Head Coach Academy method? Is that what you've just talked about?
Yeah. So the principle and the book I've written, which is sort of the basis, is the Head Coach method, which is that every good coach, doesn't matter which field you work in, it identify themselves as the head coach for the person they're talking to. If either they do it consciously or unconsciously, but the good ones do, right? So the golf coach is essentially the head coach for the golfer. They also double as the swing instructor, but the golfer comes buying a head coach solution. The head coach being, my solution is to help you reach your golf goal. And the way to do it, I can have multiple ways of doing it. My specialty, like your word used, James, I'm a swing technician and a head coach for you. I'm also a custom fitter. That's in my toolbox. But my job is to coach you to the success that you want. Do you want my help? Yes. Good. Now I am a hook to hang it on. I now can take in a different type of partners to solve if I don't know custom fitting, but I'm your head coach, then I can send you to a custom fitter. And then you come back to me with that solution, right? Then I send you to a swing instructor that's better than me in short game. And then you come back to me, right? Because I'm your head coach. Because that's what people want. And that's what people are willing to pay for. And that's sort of the essence of the method I have built.
Have you had any kind of resistance from golf professionals in embracing your philosophy or your methods, or how's been the feedback from golf professionals and teachers so far?
Golf professionals, good, but the thing that they're lacking, that they're all, it's back to the needs analysis portion of everything. Again, all the golf professionals I talk to all have the same problem. We don't make enough money, we don't have enough time freedom, and my job is very difficult and very lonely. That's sort of the through line for everybody. But they don't see that they have any other options, right? Because they've devoted their life to golf. I used to be a professional golfer, most of them. Then they became a professional teacher. Then they sort of become a retailer of sorts. And then they sort of feel a bit stuck in it. So they're open-minded to that they need something new, but they need a bit more support to get there. I said the golf organizations as a whole, now I don't mean to step on any toes, but I seem to do that regardless. So here we go. The golf profession as a whole is not very famous for adapting to change. And there's a big disconnect in the community as a whole between distilling the difference between experienced and knowledgeable. That's two different things. Experienced just means you participated for a long time. Knowledgeable is that you can solve the problem. And what's missing in the golf coaching community as a whole is a solution for the business aspect of things. So the feedback I get, to answer your questions in a more succinct way maybe, is that they think it's impossible. I couldn't possibly make twice so much money working half the time. And my answer is because of course you can. If you can't, then it's impossible for anyone to do it. But how come coaches that sell worse services than you to customers with way less money than you can make $1 million a year? How is that possible? Because the rich people play golf. And the biggest thing they want is to get better at golf. And you are the only person, you have a monopoly on the solution.
Yes.
So, but you need to sell them what they want.
Do you find that there is golf instructors that worry about making the commitment to have someone shoot a lower score? I mean, the reality is that if the player doesn't have any talent and they don't practice and they don't listen, well, guess what? They're probably going to still have trouble breaking 100.
Yes, that was sort of what I ran into in the sort of the end phase of this, is that came to be the reality, that when people opened up enough, that was exactly the case. You're hitting the head on the nail. So that's why I wrote the book. So the book, as I've written, is called Shoot Lower Scores, and it's 25 steps to actually shooting lower scores, which has nothing to do with swing and technique. It's just the things that they need to do. And when the golf coach sees the book and sees the steps, they always agree, like, yes, these are the things to do to shoot lower scores. Like, don't hit your 60 degree with all the power that you have to maybe reach the green once every 6,000 shots. Maybe hit like a pitching wedge at half shot and get it there. Yeah, that's sort of one of the things, right?
Right.
So when they see the book and when they see that it's actually like 25 things that every golfer need to do, then my question is always, then would you have maybe 25 lessons to sell to most golfers? Well, yeah. And how many golf lessons on average do a person take? Well, 2 to 3. So do you see that you have now 10x sort of the possibility of every client? Yes. So could you see that now you could make twice as much money? Yes. So if you make twice as much money, would you be, if you want to work less, then you could work half the time, make the same as you do now? Well, yeah. Well, there we go. And all you could ask, right?
And I know you've got some success stories. You talked about the lady at the National. Yeah. What? Tell me, are you having other success stories with golf professionals from other parts of the world or outside your sphere?
Well, yeah. I have another guy again, Max, who now lives in Spain. Is also a Swedish guy. That he's also worked as a golf instructor, but he also runs a golf coaching community online, and his business doing the exact same thing, which is sort of solving the problem for the golfer his business has become way more profitable and way more efficient. And I did this, for context, I did this by myself in the beginning. I started becoming a golf coach not knowing anything and selling these few systems, selling lower scores in the few things I knew and charging $500 for 2 hours. And I had to stop because I had too much demand.
Right.
So if I could do it, then it's unreasonable for the person who's a golf professional not to be able to do it.
So what's next, Chris? What's next for you and the Open Academy and the head coach method?
Well, the next step is to we just finished. That's why I'm loved that we were able to do this now, because my business has been charging $5,000 for the clubs I've helped to have them as me as a personal sort of business coach. And that's not very sustainable. But it's good for me, but it's not good for anyone else. So I can only help a handful of clubs, and that doesn't really solve the problem. And I want to solve the problem because golf clubs in the world has the potential to do so many wonderful things for so many people that are desperately looking for it. And golf has that ability to help a lot of people with a lot of things. And it's just called golf, but it could be so many different things. So what I've done is I put everything into an educational platform that's called the Golf Coach Academy, so that any club out there can just sign up for the $48. They can cancel anytime, and they get free access to all the information that we have. And then they can talk to me through DMs and through video to have the support that they need. And then they can share that information with all the members or the coaches or directors of golf at the club, so that everyone gets the information. And the people that want help can reach out, and they will get all the help that we can. So the goal of this and why we're doing this is to be sort of the last piece of the puzzle for the golf coaching community, and sort of fill the void that's very apparent that there is, and hopefully can help both clubs become more profitable and coaches have a better quality of life, and golfers shoot lower scores, because golf over 100 strokes per round is not very fun. Golf becomes fun under 100. It really becomes fun when you start shooting low 80s. So, and that's very little swing. Usually it's very lot of things that they're strategically doing wrong.
It's true. There's no doubt about it. I see all kinds of guys on the golf course breaking 80 on a regular basis at the clubs that I've worked at and consulted at, and they still only hit it 230 down the middle, but they just do it twice, and then they have two putts, and then they on to the next hole. So it's true. One of the great things about golf. Chris, fantastic getting to know more about your platform. How can people find you? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, it's going to just search for Golf Coach Academy online. I can add the link to the platform in the top comment in the description if you want to, or you can just search for Golf Coach Academy and you'll find it. The other thing is they can find the book on Amazon. It's just Shoot Lower Scores, which is made as a work in a handbook for the golf coach to use. So it's with that's online if they want to. Otherwise, just follow me on social media and find it there. And if anyone has any questions, if anyone's wondering anything, regardless if you're a golf coach or a GM or owner or whoever, just send me a DM and I'll try to answer as much as I can.
Christofer, fantastic having you on board our gig podcast. Thank you so much. I really love what you're doing. I think you're bringing a great business perspective to golf instructors, and in particular, the famous guys, that get great success, the Ledbetters, the Sean Foleys, the many others of the world that have found their niche, that are charging lots of dollars per hour for their expertise. But there are champions and people improving their game all over the place, and golf professionals have always, I think, been a little bit hesitant and shy to charge what other people charge an hour to help them give people greater enjoyment on the golf course. As you said, they spend thousands of dollars on clubs, thousands and thousands of dollars sometimes on membership fees and dues and on green fees. Yet we're concerned about charging them, a few $100s for an hour for a lesson that can make all of that much more enjoyable. So I love what you're doing. I love your perspective. You got a great story. And I wish you all the best.
I'll just give you a short tip that anyone can use.
You bet.
It's not rocket science. It's just that the way people look at golf coaching, how to succeed as a golf coach, they look at the lead betters and that's the wrong way to look at it. You're not looking for the next tour player. They don't have no money and they're very, very demanding of your time. So you need to figure out what problem am I trying to solve? And if it's a financial one, then the next tour player you are looking for is the 55-year-old John that has a pretty nice car in the parking lot. That's your tour player. Because if you could tell him and become his friend and just ask him the question, what's your scoring goal? And he tells you, and you can tell him, if I could solve that problem for you, would you want my help? Yes. Now you have if you just can get that far, then you can use the book if you want, but you can just, the knowledge that you have, if you just can get that far, now you can have a person paying you tens of thousands of dollars per year to become their personal head coach. Every club has those members, and they're looking for you. So if you're a golf coach listening to this, they are at your club looking for you. They just don't know that you can offer it to them because they're too afraid to ask. And that may sound weird, but that's the truth. So if you offer it to them, no one will be happier to pay you that money than them. And that way you can subsidize the junior or the professional players, because now you don't have to charge anything for their time. You can just give it away because you're 10 people paying you $10,000 a year. It's $100,000 from 10 people. And they're at every club in the world. Even your normal pay and play municipal course, they have those people too. You just need to ask them. Just look at the car part, find the person and say, hey, I'm the golf professional. Do you like a golf? Yes. Do you want some help? Yes. What's your handicap? What's your goal? Do you want my help? Yes. Then let's start.
Great stuff. Very simple, but great stuff. Christofer Nassil, thank you so much for joining us. Having you on the Gig Podcast, a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you again in our travels. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of the Gig Podcast. And as always, we will see you on the inside.
Thanks for listening to the Gig Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and mostly that you learned a few things that will help you improve your business. Join us next time as we continue to bring you the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. Thanks for listening.